Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Monday Night Q&A. We are going to update Walksnail to the newest version so that we can A, confirm whether or not 100 frames per second will even work on the light setup, which is a question that somebody asked a couple days ago and I didn't have the answer to, and I was like, well, there's an easy way to find out the answer to that. I assume that it does. If it doesn't, the end of the stream will be cut short. No, we'll have plenty to do, but I'm assuming that it does. Once it hopefully does, I'm also wanting to test if there's a difference. I would also assume that in my OSD, in the goggles, it'll give me a lower latency number running at 100 frames per second. The other thing I'm super curious about is when you run this. So you've got the onboard DVR, right? Which seems to always record 1080-60, which is amazing. Even when I set the goggles to 720, 60. So I'm super curious if when I set the goggles to 100 frames a second, will the onboard DVR still record 1080, 60? I kind of hope it does, but if it doesn't, that's okay. I hope that it does, because 1080, 60 off of the DVR is almost, it's like almost as good as a Session 5. It's not, but you know, like, it makes sense if the onboard DVR collects 1080, 60 all the time. Like, that would make a lot of sense. Whether or not it can do that once you've asked it to go 100 frames a second, you know what I mean? Like, there could be a technical limitation there, but hey, let's find out. Instead of just doing a quick Google search, let's find out the hard way, god damn it, because that's how we do things around here sometimes. I also, even if, well, or I can just read the answer in chat. Bob Bruce says, yes, it still records 1080, 60. So there we go. Stream's over. Oh no, we'll do some Q&A, but then, no, I do want to update it, because one of the things that I've absolutely noticed, and what's really interesting about this is that, I am not somebody that typically can tell differences in latency. I've done tons of testing with analog systems, and in analog systems, the cameras have different amounts of latency. And I've had cameras that are 10, 15 milliseconds different in latency, and I can't tell a difference. I think it's because of basically like my flight style. When I move the sticks to a different spot, I leave them there as long as I possibly can. Andrew Taylor says, is your AliExpress affiliate link fixed? It's not, and I don't think it's gonna get fixed. Apparently they've changed their affiliate program setup, and they don't allow you to just have a link anymore. You have to do specific products. I've been bouncing emails back and forth with them, and they're being very dumb. Like, they're telling me basically, the last email was, send us a link to your social media so that we can determine which products you can have affiliate links to. And I haven't replied back to that email yet, and I don't think I'm going to, because that's just the dumbest thing ever. It doesn't seem like you can pick products and get affiliate links for those products. It also doesn't seem like you can have an affiliate link that drops into your cart and applies to the entire cart. It seems that it's item specific. And that's just, yeah, they can just go to hell. I don't know. I mean, if I was big on like doing reviews and stuff like that, and there was like an expensive product that, you know, it would be kind of worth it for me to take the time to do this and then update all my shit with it, maybe it would be worth it. But like, I'm not here to shill products to you guys. I'm here to shill knowledge to you guys. You know, like, what you buy is on you. And like, quite honestly, we have such a crazy diverse group of folks that hang out here that like me choosing individual products like that would probably get me like one click through, and like, you know, whatever their percentage is, 2-3% of that, like 1 or 2 clicks onto that product, like, just makes no sense, right? So yeah, I think I'm just gonna pull that AliExpress affiliate link off of my little link tree there. They're just being stupid. I appreciate you guys though bugging me about it, and wanting me to fix it. The fact that anybody uses my affiliate links is amazing, and you guys are the best, as always. Speaking of, CiottiFPV.com is the website where you can go to support me. I do have a whole bunch of affiliate links there to a bunch of different spots. We bleed, and these are regular affiliate links where you click them, it drops CiottiFPV into the shopping cart, and then I get 1 to 6% kickback off your entire shopping cart. It doesn't affect you in any way. You can still use coupon codes, all that stuff. No reason not to use affiliate links at this point. Use somebody's. You don't have to use mine, but use somebody's affiliate links. They're going to be able to produce better content for you because they're going to get a little bit more free money from you using their affiliate links. yeah, replace your bookmarks, replace your URL bar suggestions with someone's affiliate links, and you can, yeah, help them test more stuff so that you buy less garbage. You'll get a little kickback eventually from it. We Bleed FPV, Get FPV, Newbie Drone, FPV Cycle, Amazon, Race Day Quads, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HDZero, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, Camera Butter. Those are the affiliate links that I have that work. Can I? No, I have to log into my link tree to kill that AliExpress affiliate link. I'll do it one of these days, but now you guys know. Also, over on the website, you can jump on to my Patreon. That definitely helps me out the most. You can get in there for 10 cents a day. If you're into FPV, you've got an extra 10 cents a day. It's a pretty cheap hobby, but it's not a free hobby. And the 10 cents a day, I guarantee you, will prevent you at some point from buying something, and then you'll save 30, 40, 50 bucks. And hey, there you go. That's a membership to my Patreon for a couple of years. So help a brother out. Join my Patreon. Over on Etsy, I got some fun stuff you can buy. Over on Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me. This is the best way to get good, actual, accurate information all at once. I put it all out here on these live streams, but sorting through these to try to find every bit of information that you need is going to take you some time. What's your time worth? Yeah, I can help you out. I would love to work with you. A half-hour session, hour-long session. You'll get a ton of info, and to go from, you know, if you've been into the hobby for 6 months, within a half an hour, you'll have the amount of knowledge from somebody that's been in the hobby for like a year and 6 months. So work together with me. You don't have to do it through Fiverr. You can just message me and we'll schedule it. But the Fiverr page will get your brain going as to what we can talk about, what we can work through. Teespring for some fun shirts, and then PayPal if you want to do a super chat, but you don't want YouTube to take 30%. That's how you support me. You guys are the best. You literally have allowed me to do this full-time for the last 3 years, and that is pretty rad. Let's keep doing it, man. I'm down to do this till the wheels fall off, yo. If you want to talk directly to me in the chat, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV into your chat comment. That will light up an orange for me. If you want to get somebody else's attention in the chat, do that. Type their name. Get it, spell it right. Put the spaces in the right place. But yeah, type their name for that person. It'll light up an orange. And away you go. Or you can do a super chat. Those always get read. But yeah, I do read every single chat comment where you guys have tagged me, because we don't get hundreds and hundreds of people hanging out in these chats, so I can keep up. Freelojo dropped the CiottiFPV.com link into the chat. Thank you for that. Striker says, yo. CMYK says, howdy. Cloudhopper says, testing my Rewound RS0802's 8.35 volt battery Gem 2S. I didn't know you were diving into 2S, Cloudhopper. GemFan 1610s, 2G4 AIO on 2S. That is, they are, to my knowledge, they're not rated for 2S. Oh, no. No, you meant to type 5.35 volt battery, because you've got 33,000 kV motors. There's no way in hell you're running those on 2S. Okay. Did I say 5.35? I meant 4.35 volt battery. There's a typo there. Is 4 next to 8? 4 is not next to 8, but whatever. It's definitely a typo. 4.35 volt battery, GemFan 1610s, 2G4 AIO, quick blip to full speed, 53,000 RPM, almost 9 amps peak. Sounds about right. I would think it would pull more amps than that, actually. 9 amps is not that much. Interesting. We are going to talk about... lightning struck my brain earlier today. Oddly enough, it was right before I was like, yo, Azalea, let's go to H Mart and get more ramen. But every once in a while, a lightning bolt will strike my brain. I remembered someone at some point talking about one of the reasons why 5-inch flies so good is that the tip speed on the propellers is right in the perfect window of efficiency, which is really close to the speed of sound. This was a while ago that somebody had said that, and it didn't necessarily click in my brain at the time, I don't think, but for whatever reason today, it clicked in my brain, and I thought, hey, I bet you there's a tip speed calculator, and I know for a fact that there's a kV to RPM calculator. Why don't I figure out what the new crazy KV tiny whoop motors are running at. So I did. Fuck it, we'll talk about it now. So yeah, I think that I've done this right. If somebody smarter than me, because I can admittedly be quite smooth-brained at times, if you guys catch me doing some of this wrong, definitely let me know in the chat, please. Although I am pretty behind in chat, so yeah, I'll get to it eventually. But look, here's what I did, right? So I went into the KV to RPM calculator. I typed in 40,000 KV, and then for the voltage, this is where this kind of falls apart a little bit, because the second that you go full throttle with these 40,000 KV 0702s, the battery sags down quite a bit. There's absolutely no way that we would actually have 4.2 volts at full throttle with the 40,000 KV motors. But I don't know what voltage to put in here. Like, I think I see them sag down to like 3.8, but like, I don't know. What I'm thinking here with 4.2 is that we charge the batteries to 4.35, and so 4.2 is like, I don't know, absolute brand new battery, best battery ever, cleanest one off the line. I should probably take this number down a little bit lower, but stick with me here. We're going to leave it at 4.2. That gives us 168,000 RPM, which this seems awful high. 168,000 RPM is a hell of a big number. That and the other thing is that is with no propeller on. So this is all like absolute best case scenario, but I also did these calculations with 5-inch stuff, 5-inch voltage and KV, and that's all I'm going to say about that for a second. But all right, so now I've got this 168,000 KV number, all right? So then I came over here to the prop tip speed calculator, and I dropped that stuff in. Propeller diameter 1.2, engine RPM 168,000, engine gear 1, as in 1-to-1 because we don't have gears. Prop tip speed in mile an hour 600 mile an hour, which is pretty impressive. But this is the interesting bit here. Speed of sound in mile an hour 767. So we are starting to get, theoretically, with no prop on, we're getting near the speed of sound. This is what's super interesting right here, though. Oh shit. Look, maximum performance between 0.8 and 0.92 Mach. Look at this, 0.78. So we're getting there. We're getting close to this, but again, the problem is the battery sag and the fact that that RPM calculation is no propeller on. Once the propeller goes on, these numbers drop drastically. But these numbers also drop. The same can be said about 5-inch 6S, right? And when I put all this shit in with 5-inch for 5-inch setups, I think I used 1800 kV and then 6S voltage at 4.2 volts. It was very similar. It was actually a little bit higher. I think it was like 0.80. Which is right on this. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I also didn't realize that that apparently you get more efficiency when you get the tip speed up to where it should be, according to this. Apparently, it's actually it's the most efficient way to do it. It would make sense though because of all the development that's happened with 5-inch rigs, right? Like they are the peak performance that we've got in FPV. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was super interesting and wondered if I got all the numbers wrong. And I'm thinking about it like a smooth-brained jackass. So yeah, talk amongst yourselves, chat. Eventually, I will get caught up and see what you have to say. So there's that. I think I can close this out because that's really the only. I mean, there's. Yeah, I'm closing it. I just googled prop tip speed calculator, KV to RPM calculator to find those. It's not like I won't be able to find those again. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. sorry to get super nerdy on you so early. If you've fallen asleep already, man, stick around, because it just gets way more ripping balls and cool from here. This isn't the cool live stream. This is the get better and learn some shit live stream. Cloudhopper, very cool, man. Thank you for continuing to provide us with tech and info on the motor rewinding stuff. It's super interesting, and it's super helpful in continuing to dial tiny whoops in to figure out how much KV is too much KV, and like, one of the big things that kind of helps me figure out is what I should try to kind of like lean on Jesse to maybe make next. Although Jesse tends to be a couple of steps ahead of me. But yeah, every once in a while, I'd like to think that I make some contributions to the tiny whoop world or FPV community. I don't know. Demo FPV says, "What's up, everybody? Survived the hurricane in South Texas." Oh my god, I saw that. It was like softball-sized hail. Jesus. No Wi-Fi and spotty cell service. That's nuts, dude. Parkour guy says, "Will digital ever get onboard audio, or is there some way to?" Do not quote me on this, but I feel like I remember there being something weird, some technical problem with doing audio on digital. Which, as I say it, I have a hard time believing, but still. Yeah, I don't know. I doubt that... Here's what I'll say. If we get it, it won't be because we asked for it. It'll be because someone else that's using digital VTXs, law enforcement or the military or something like that, wants it. And then it'll trickle down to us. That's my thoughts on it. All that being said, you know, audio on the quad is just get a microphone, and then here's what you do for all of your digital stuff: put it into Premiere, and then hit the voiceover, and then take your microphone and just go. And now you've got 99% of what your onboard audio is. Kelvin Santos says, "I just bought the Goggles X. Very cool. Have they straightened out all the weirdness that they were having? I feel like maybe they have at this point. I was super excited about the Goggles X, and then they had all those issues. And then the main reason why I didn't get a set is that there was really no way of doing an analog module with them that didn't have a bunch of extra latency. And I have not heard any fix for that yet. So anybody that's in the know with Goggles X, have they gotten to that point? Because, you know, I have these HDZero goggles, and they're great and all, but I'm never going to run HDZero through them. And it's absolutely absurd to have an $800+ setup to do analog with. That's kind of silly. I would love to get rid of them, and then to get rid of these, replace these with the Goggle X, and have the ability to do analog on them as well. So yeah, there's that. Bob Bruce says, "I want to see you go through it." It being the Walksnail update. We're gonna. Striker says, "Once I get the money from eBay tomorrow, I'm doing the Patreon. The knowledge you've given me is priceless for real." Thank you, dude. Very, very cool of you. Speaking of, Arcs UK, thank you for joining the Patreon. That was a couple of days ago, and then I think I saw one more new patron that is very deserving of a shout out. All patrons eventually get shout outs. Sometimes it takes me a minute to get caught up on my emails because, like a dumbass, I thought, hey, I'll get health insurance. And I went online and applied for a quote for health insurance. And then for every day since, I've been getting 10 to 20 text messages and about 7,000 emails. So that has sucked. Milos, I'm not going to wreck your last name. I'm just going to say Milos V. Welcome to the Patreon. Super generous of you. Welcome to the Gangly Gang, my friends. Thank you for the support. It's the only way that I can do this full time. And it's doing this full time is the only way that I can do this good of a job at it, really. How is there a... What? Nope, it's sold. I have an eBay alert for Mobula 6 2024, and apparently at 4:15 a.m. today, somebody listed a Mobula 6 Eco 2024, the one with HDZero, for $75. Buy it now, but it has sold already. So that stinks. I wish I would have snagged that, but that's okay. That's the way eBay works, man. You got to be quick. Okay, cool. This is good to go, and all right, all set. Speaking of the chat, Curtis Hayes was first, Cloudhopper, FPV Toast, Doubles FPV, Tom Johnson, Slow Cow, Gusto, Soap Legend 123, Andy XX, Cloudhopper, Danzil the Terrible, Notice, Frank Nicholas, County FPV, Scotty Scott, not applicable, Lewis the 18th, LOL the Kittison. And notice, if you want the Gangly Man to read your name, you got to come in early on the live chat and say something. Or just tag me, and then I'll read your comment. Where were we at in chat here? Curtis Hayes says, are you going to test the new 2-watt Walksnail VTX that has a ceramic antenna for low power mode and an onboard SD card for recording? No time soon. But eventually, maybe. It's awful big. So, like, first things first, I need to test Walksnail on a 5-inch rig, full stop. I've only run Walksnail on 3-inch and Tiny Whoops. I have the V2 here, just ready to do it. It's just, yeah, finding the time to tear one of the builds apart, swap it, do all that rigmarole. 2-watt Walksnail VTX with a ceramic antenna for low power mode. That's pretty cool. Onboard SD card for recording. So that VTX, in my opinion, it's an interesting VTX. 2-watt. Mega range. What that means to me is big, fast quad, because big, fast quads are the only ones that are going to take advantage of that much power and be able to travel far enough to get that kind of range to need that kind of power. But then onboard SD card for recording doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, in my opinion, for a big, fast quad, because it's a big, fast quad, you might as well throw a GoPro on it, right? You're going to want the better quality from that. So I might actually never test that, because like I try to only really test stuff that is sort of like perfect in a scenario. For me, the onboard SD card thing for recording is really cool for like a 3-inch rig, but I mean technically there are like they're not really 3-inch rigs, they're 4-inch rigs that are meant for like mid-range or long range. And like that's pretty cool, but I don't really do that personally. So yeah, that's interesting. I might never test that. Although I guess you could argue like the extra power could be good for like going really deep into a building. But I don't know. It's going to be a big old heavy VTX. I don't fly much 5-inch anymore. If I was flying a lot of 5-inch, I could probably justify it. And for anybody that was watching Joshua's stream before this, we had the discussion about being able to tell the difference, whatever, between 2306s and 2207s. Blunty came at me like a fucking pit bull, man. I don't know what got into him. I almost feel like he might be mad at me for some reason. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's just extra passionate about this issue. But he was coming at me. I almost sent him a message and was like, "Yo, did I say something to piss you off? Like, what the hell? I thought we were pals." But yeah, the conversation of can you tell a difference between 2306 and 2207s came back up. Blunty's stance has always been that you can't tell the difference, and I definitely can. Like, I've not blind tested it, but I have tested enough 2207s over the years that 100% on my rigs, on these rigs up here, when I put a 2207 on there, it has a noticeable amount of extra power. And like, I don't care if it's a blind test, I don't care if I'm playing music, it's obvious. Like, for me, I have a pacing to my flying, and when I go full throttle and then chop the throttle, I do that with the same pacing. Probably, and I've probably done that tens of thousands of times over the last 8 years, right? And I've always flown sort of low power-ish motors, 2306s at not crazy KVs. 2306 versus 2207 at the same KV, if you look at any thrust stand testing from Ryan Harrell or Chris Rosser, the 2207s always make significantly more power. I have personally tested a whole bunch of 2207s at the same KV as the 2306s that I have, and they always make noticeably more power. I do that same throttle blip that I always do, and the quad goes higher in the air, and it takes a longer amount of time to go up and then come back down, and I immediately notice that. But Blunty is absolutely right in that there's tons of confirmation bias and placebo, right? We talk about that constantly on this channel. Have for the entire 3 years I've been doing this, right? But it's just obvious. For me, it is obvious. And this is another super important part. Okay, for me, that is obvious. On my rigs that I have flown thousands and thousands and thousands of batteries on, and I've flown probably easily 10,000 plus batteries over the last 8 years. 95% of pilots will not be dumb enough to spend that much time doing the same thing over and over and over again. And until you've spent that much time and developed that much muscle memory, and like, I hate to say this because it makes me feel and sound like an asshole, get that good. Sorry, but like, yeah, you do something over and over and over again, and pretty much no matter what, eventually you're going to get good. So that makes me feel less awful about saying something so douchey. But yeah, so like, Blunty is absolutely right. But what I think we were both, I don't know if I was talking in absolutes, but sometimes I do. I make mistakes. He was 100% talking in absolutes. He was saying nobody can tell, and that's just not true. Most people can't tell, and I mean, that's okay. You know, we didn't fist fight over it. It's all good. But yeah, that was interesting in the middle of towards the end of Joshua's stream. But yeah, so that was something that just happened. I hope Blunty's not mad at me. If I said something to piss him off, I certainly didn't mean to. I fucking love the guy. So yeah, I don't know. He was just like, he came out with a fucking bazooka, and I was like, yo, what the hell? And I was careful to not say like everyone can tell. Like, I definitely didn't say. I said like I can tell. So yeah, I don't know. Cloudhopper says 30,000 kV hit. Oh, here we go. So I want to compare this to Cloudhopper's previous. 30,000 kV hit 50,500 RPM. Okay. So this is great. This is a comparison, I think, of 32,000 to 30,000. This is good stuff. Cloudhopper, where's your previous comment? There it is. Okay. Testing rewound 33,000. Okay, so we're comparing 30,000 to 33,000. Can I fit these both on the... Nope, I can't. Of course not. 53,000... Okay, 33,000 kV hit 53,000 RPM, 53, versus 30,000 kV hit 50,500 RPM. So that's a noticeable difference. That's 2,500 RPM different. What's that math? I'm not going to be able to math that. 2,500, 2.5, and then, so 2.5 divided by 3. Nope, that ain't right. I'm trying to think of what that percent change is. 2,500 kV, 2,500, that's, if we scale it up to 100, that's 2.5% there, but then we got to break that up in fifths, so 5, 10, 15. So 0.5. So that is I think I'm correct in saying that is a 0.5%. That seems too low. Is that only 0.5% more RPM? Oh, I know how to do the math. Hold on. So if I do 50,500 RPM times 0.05, that's 0.5%. Nope, that ain't right. 50,500 kV times, how do I do this? One. Yeah, no. Times 1.05. That's it. That's not what I'm trying to do. 50. No, okay, yeah. 53,000. So that's, okay. So between 30,000 and 33,000 kV on 1610 biblades on a fully charged battery, it's only a 0.5% more power. That's not a significant enough increase in power, I don't think. Cool, Cloudhopper, thank you for that feedback. That is very, very cool. Yeah, 0.5% more power on a 75 millimeter motor rig, going from an 0802 30,000 kV motor to 33,000 kV motor. I will take the 30,000 kV motor because 0.5% more power at full throttle is not enough to justify the decrease in efficiency. That is probably at the point of diminishing returns where at full throttle it's going to dump a bunch more power. There's a point where the kV goes too high and you barely make any extra power, but you send a bunch more juice to the ESC, so you end up taking a much bigger hit. You end up taking a much bigger hit on runtime with a big hit on runtime with a tiny little increase in extra power. And that is what I've kind of felt in the testing that I've done on the Jungle Gym Basher between 0802, 27,000 kV, 30,000 kV, and 33,000 kV. Between 27 and 30, I felt a difference, not a big one, but a little bit of a difference. But then from 30 to 33, it felt like an even smaller difference, which led me down the road. We went through this testing a month or two ago to basically say, like, look, 0802, 27,000 kV, iGao motors are the ones for the Jungle Gym Basher build. I then switched mine over to the 30,000 kV motors that I built, because I have them. I don't know what else to do with these motors, so I might as well throw one here. But yeah, as soon as one of these explodes, I've got the 27,000s just sitting here. I don't know what I'll do. I'll probably take the bell off and swap one of these bells on, because what else am I going to do with these 30,000 kV stators? But yeah, I don't know. There you go. There's your 75 millimeter analog motor talk for the live stream. Andrew Taylor says, oh no, we got that. YouTube just did the thing, scrolling back up to try to find my place. Come on. Come on. Where was I? There we go. Kelvin Santos says, I've wanted to get into digital for a long time. Got some Goggles X for $350. That's a really good deal, which is forcing my hand to go Walksnail. Am I doing the right thing, or should I sell it and go 03? Kelvin, it totally depends on your specific scenario. Walksnail does some things really good. 03 does some things really good. HDZero does some things really good. Analog does some things really good. There are specific scenarios that work really well with one over the other. In my opinion, Walksnail is the best all-arounder. You can build a tiny whoop that you can fly inside the house or chase little RC drift cars with Walksnail. Can't do that with 03. So, yeah. The quality of Walksnail is pretty goddamn good. It's nowhere near the quality of 03, but to me, a 3-inch rig with Walksnail, that footage is totally editable. It's not cinematic footage that you can give to a client, that's for sure, but for freestyle flying, which is what most people do, it's plenty good. So, yeah. 03's strong suit is range and the ability to have 4K on board. 4K on board is great if you've got an audience and if there's people, or if you're selling your work. If you're just flying for fun, if you're just flying for you, nobody's going to care if your footage is 4K or 1080. They're going to care about, holy shit, he just dove that ladder gap that was only this big. And if they're watching that flight footage from Walksnail, they're going to be just as impressed as through 03. So, yeah, the 03 system is very impressive, but it's heavy, and there are some serious sacrifices. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm a much bigger fan of Walksnail than 03. But everybody is completely different. You know, if 4K is a deal breaker for you, it's got to be 03. But yeah, be realistic and avoid the hype train of seeing like all of these people going to 03 and it's the greatest thing ever. Like in some ways it's really good. In some ways it's not. You can't build a tiny whoop with it. That sucks. So yeah, you got to be realistic with this stuff. There are strengths and weaknesses to all systems. And yeah, the newest is not the best. There's situations where analog is the best, right? And that shit's OG. There's people that say analog is dead. Fuck no. You want to do wild shit inside the house with a tiny whoop? It is analog or nothing. So, yeah. You got to work really hard in FPV to filter out the unbelievable number of people and channels that just say that every single new thing is the greatest thing ever. Here's my affiliate link. Cloudhopper says, typo 4.35. Yeah, awesome. Notice says, I think I see where you're going with tip speed, making it like 5-inch, but I'm not sure correlation equals causation or something. Then again, I'm no engineer or physicist. Denzel the Terrible rightly says, ladies love the correct tip speed. There's all just the tip jokes. There we go. Striker says, proud of you guys. Striker says, I live for the nerdy shit. This is why I love Rosser and you so much. Thank you, dude. Hikey Round says, are we updating ELRS tonight as well? Fuck no. Parkour Guy says, give us the nerdiest piece of FPV info you can. Oh, boy. Tip speed thing that's pretty fucking nerdy. Oh, man, that's a good chat comment. I can't possibly think of the nerdiest thing, but I can think of something pretty boring. Hold on, give me a second. What's something super nerdy? Tip speed thing is there. Recently, one of the super nerdy things is stator size versus the relationship between stator size, KV, stator size, KV, and how they relate to like response time. Taking a look at 0702s versus 0603s versus 0802s. Yeah. That's one of the most boring but interesting to a very small group of people things that yeah, pieces of FPV info. Um, and I can tell that it's super nerdy because I'm having a really hard time getting those like completely straight in my head. I'm pretty close. 0702 is the worst in terms of response time, but there also the fourth thing in there is all up weight and how that affects flight characteristics. And I mean, basically where we're at is that 0702s are physically light enough that they make the rig, they're just magic because of how light they are. And um and almost like the fifth part of that is how the weight affects the way that tiny whoops perform inside the house. Um, Flying inside the house in acro and doing big nasty shit is outrageously difficult, and um, a lot more difficult than most outdoor flying. The top outdoor pilots, they get so good that they can have proximity to objects all the time, similar to what you get flying inside the house. Flying inside the house is jumping straight into the deep end and trying to do FPV flying at a level of precision that only the top pilots do with 5-inch rigs outside the house. And you can only really do that in like crazy locations, right? Like these bando locations, these like industrial locations with like Rampage, right? Rampage is a perfect example of that. That site is just filled with gaps. And I mean, filled with gaps this big and this big and this big and this big and this big. And to shoot a bunch of those gaps in a row over and over and over again, you know, say 20, 30, 40, 50 of those gaps per battery, that's what we're trying to do with tiny whoops inside the house. And the only pilots that can do that shit outside are the top pilots. Like when you look at Rampage footage, that's, you know, it becomes very obvious who the top pilots there are, and who everyone else is. Everybody else still has a blast and they still do have great flight footage, but then the top 5%, 1%, they're just like gap, and the small gaps, right? Like everybody else like might hit one of those small gaps once per battery, if that. And so, sure, fly 10,000 batteries and you can do that inside the house, right? This is the 6 batteries a day deal. And that is a requirement. There is no gear setup that I can come up with here that will allow someone who's only done 500 batteries, I'm not even exaggerating, inside the house to be able to hammer. Like an absolute requirement to be able to do big nasty stuff inside the house is thousands of batteries. It's you have to do that, but there is absolutely a difference with the gear. And like again, 5-inch is a great example of this. Like 5-inch gear continues to get slightly better, and the R&D cycle of 5-inch gear has been extremely deep, and that's what she said, and long, also what she said. And when you compare the amount of effort and time that has gone into developing 5-inch rigs to the point where they're at, I don't know if tiny whoops will ever get there. They might, but we're going to be playing catch up forever. But what's cool about that is that we're still in that R&D phase. I don't really find it all that necessary to review 5-inch gear anymore because it's all so goddamn good. We're searching for like fractions of a percent in improvement. So like you can pretty much buy any, like once you settle 2306 versus 2207, for example, you can pretty much get any 2207 and it's going to be 99% as good as any other 2207. They've done all of that. We've found all of the big gains in 5-inch R&D because so many people have flown it for so long. With tiny whoops, we're not there yet. Like a new motor will come out and it'll be way better, or a new frame will come out, the LiteAF, and it'll be way better because it's a bunch lighter. You know what I mean? Like at some point we'll get to a spot where the new Tiny Whoop frame is 0.1 of a gram lighter, and we'll be like, oh, that's amazing. You know, this is like a full gram lighter. Like, of course it's going to be like significantly better. You know what I mean? So it's really cool to be working this shit out with Tiny Whoops right now, because we are getting new stuff that does make a noticeable difference. And so, yeah, the gear does matter. If I had to put a percentage on it, maybe 10 to 20%, I'm going to say. The extremes are going to be the LiteAF build that's 16.4 grams versus something like this with the VCI 0702 29000s, which is like 18.1 grams. And the difference is the weight. But yeah, I mean, flight performance is flight performance. So yeah, there you go. There's a rant for you. Good question, parkour guy. Curtis Hayes says the interview Rosser had with the South. Oh, and to just round that out. So like those 5 things, right? Like stator volume versus KV versus all up weight, all that stuff. It's all about, you know, so like 603s versus 702s, for example. 603s unquestionably have better response time, which makes the quad prop wash less, and it makes you get sort of better throttle resolution. It's not necessarily throttle resolution, but like the motors will spin up and down faster because of that better response time, so that will reduce the latency in the throttle, right? And that makes you fly better. But the 603s are physically heavier, and what I'm really starting to figure out is that the all-up weight of these rigs really matters, and it's sort of like the most important thing I'm starting to feel. And so the weight of each one of these, each one of these attributes is what I'm like racking my brain to try to balance and kind of figure out. 603s will also make more peak power because they have more stator volume than 702s, and peak power does matter, but it doesn't matter as much as all up weight. I'm starting to figure out. And the really interesting thing is, like, at some point we'll get to the point where we're too light and we don't have enough throw, and then that muddies the water even more and makes us work even harder of figuring out, like, oh, well, okay, well, our 702s too light? Can we go up to a bigger motor for more power and more response time because the frames and the AIOs and the cameras and the canopies have gotten light enough, right? That's and so there's this jumping around, and that right there is why I retest. Now that I think about that, because the other gear changes. I've previously said a bunch of times that I retest because I don't trust myself from 6 months ago or a year ago, and I don't. That's true, but also it's because other parts of the build change, like all up weight. And so, yeah, there you go. I like that. That makes me feel better about retesting. And it is true. It is true. As these builds continue to progress, we do need to retest. You know, perfect example of why I'm glad that I'm retesting is now that we're super light, we don't need, I don't think, 36,000 kV motors, 40,000 kV motors anymore. This is the best flying tiny whoop I have. It is. For the basement, for the tight, busy, crazy basement, this is the best flying tiny whoop I've got, and it's only on 28,000 kV motors. It's on the factory Mobula 6 2024 motors. Yep, 28,000 kV motors. So, yeah. A year ago, and I was right in saying this a year ago, when we went from 30,000 to 32,000 kV motors, that power difference was the biggest improvement that we had. And then when we went up to 36,000, it was a little bit less so, but it was still there. Back then, we had bottomed out on the weight that we were at. We were at like 18.5 grams, 18 grams dry. And the big improvement was coming because we didn't have other frames. We didn't have these lighter weight frames available, right? More power. We needed better power to weight ratio. But now that the weight has come down, that power to weight ratio is less important. I hope that all makes sense, man. I'm going. You fucking asked for nerdy, you got it, my friends. If you could follow along with that, congratulations. You're a fucking nerd. You're in good company, though. Curtis Hayes says, the interview Rosser had with the South African father-son world speed record had interesting info about KV motor selection, prop speed, speed of sound, getting the most performance. I'm dying to watch that. I am super behind on YouTube and many things right now. We've had 2 family vacations, like one week and then the following weekend, so I'm still buried behind. Yeah, but I did see the thumbnail of that, and I cannot wait to watch that. Did I see right? Did they go 300 miles an hour or 400 miles or something like that? It was. I thought 200 was kind of the limit, but I think I saw that they went way faster than that. But they're not carrying an HD camera, I'm assuming. And yeah, once you get towards the limits of stuff, that type of thing can make a massive difference. More from like I'll bet more from like an aerodynamic standpoint, right? So like the reason why I think I thought 200 was close to the limit is the Red Bull rig that the Dutch guys built. But that has to carry a 4K onboard camera, and so that's going to change the aerodynamics of it because you have to set the nose up to have a lens that goes up and down, blah, 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 blah. Cloudhopper says, with my 33,000 kV motor producing slightly more static RPM than my 30,000, and also the iGao, I may have to wind another step up, maybe around 36,000 kV, see how it performs. I don't think you need to, Cloudhopper. If you're only seeing a 0.5% increase between 30 and 33,000, it's just not worth it. It's not like the best you're gonna get is another 0.5% from 33 to 36. You're probably gonna get even less than that. I think 33 is actually beyond the limit. I mean, if you want to do it for science, I absolutely love it. I think you would also want to increase the thickness of the wire at that point, although I don't know if you'll be able to fit it, right? That's one of the things you run into when you start winding motors less is you want to step up. You need to step up in the thickness of the winding material to keep the same amount of copper in the stator. But with these really high kV motors, we're only getting like 6 winds, like 6 wraps on them. And so you go from like 6 winds to 5 winds, going up in the diameter of the copper. You might not be able to go up in the diameter of the copper because the diameter of the copper will go, the available copper will go from like 0.22 to 0.24, and then it'll hit the bell. So one of the things that I find super interesting about what Cloudhopper and Butterfly FPV are doing with these custom winds is we're starting to figure out, fucking A, the nerdiness tonight. We're starting to figure out that it seems like there are certain what I think we can figure out is that there's the potential that, for example, 30,000 kV motor, 32,000 kV motor, you can't change the thickness of the copper, and so the 30,000 kV motor, so let the less winds for more kV. So let's say the 30,000 kV motor has 10 winds, the 32,000 has 9 winds. That difference in winds does not allow us to increase the thickness of the copper. So the 30,000 kV motor might actually make more power because it has an entire additional wind of copper. And more copper means more power, more torque. It doesn't necessarily mean more... It doesn't mean more unloaded, no prop on RPM. but we don't fly these things without props on. So the KV kind of doesn't matter in this scenario that we're in with increasing the thickness of the copper up and down a little bit for the number of winds. So yeah, super interesting stuff. I hope you guys keep farting around, because I think we're really starting to see some stuff with that, and that's pretty slick. Paulie New says, the IPEX connector ripped off the pads on my AIO. Can't find a metal trace for the solder to stick. Is the AIO boned, or is there another way to fix it? Nope, you're fucked. Even if you could, this will make you feel better though. Nah, it won't. But even if you could find a trace, you would get it on there, and then the first crash it would break off. The traces are not big enough. I mean, technically, I guess you could put a big ass blob of E6000 on there, but look, I've played that game before, and it's never been durable. I was playing that game back in the days of 5-inch rigs, which are like absolutely hammering. So like with a tiny whoop, yeah, maybe you wouldn't crash hard enough and it would be potentially durable, but it sounds like you can't find the trace anyway, so fuck it, throw it away. Sorry, dude. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. Zoe101 says, would you ever try out VCI motors again? For sure. Mike from GemFan is is VCI's social media guy, and I love Mike to absolute death. I can't wait for more VCI motors to pop up. If I flew 5-inch rigs more often, I would be testing 2306 VCI motors. And if the motors were lighter, I'd be testing them. But yeah, VCI seems like a great company, and any company that Mike is willing to vouch for and work with, to me is a good company. So yeah, I look forward to more VCI motors. Andy XX says, did Jesse from Tiny Whoop give a time frame on him getting all those high KV motors back in stock? You mentioned it weeks ago when you emailed him. He did not. No, he doesn't typically know. He asks Happy Model to send him as many of these motors as they possibly can, and that's it. And then they send him as many as they can whenever they can. Like, he basically seems to have like an open order with them, like send as many as often as you can. He doesn't want to be out of stock, right? So yeah, it's not, it has very little to do with Jesse and everything to do with Happy Model. And so yeah, no time frame. And like, here's another thing, like, you might have seen him give me a time frame in the past, and we talked about it on the stream. That has happened. He has said to me, like, in a week, in 2 weeks, and then a month later they're still not in. So like, the time frames that he is getting from Happy Model, probably is what's happening, are not really all that accurate. So even if we had a time frame, it's probably just going to get your hopes up and then smash them. So yeah, just wait. I you know, Jesse is anxiously waiting them. You know, he would love to have them in stock all the time, I'm sure, right? Because he would make more money and have to deal with less people. I'm sure he gets hammered with people asking him that, right? Which is why I kind of try not to ask him all the time, right? So yeah, it's tough. I blame Happy Model. Kelvin says, just joined Joshua's Patreon. Looks like I'll be joining yours as well. Very cool, Kelvin. I appreciate that, man. AGZFPV says, did you see that HDZero is coming out with a Whoop AIO with HDZero and ELRS built in? I've heard of this. Maybe worth try again when they come out, depending on what they weigh. Yeah, I've heard rumblings of that. I can't understand how they're going to be able to do it, but if they can do it, great. HDZero is better than analog, in most people's opinions. Personally, I find the way that analog breaks up to be less obnoxious than the way that HDZero breaks up. And so, like, for these RC drifts edits that I'm doing, right, for example, I would actually rather have the analog breakup than the HDZero breakup. Luckily, I'm standing right next to the track, so I don't get all that much breakup, and more than likely with HDZero I would get no breakup whatsoever, so that issue kind of goes away a little bit. But yeah, if they manage, this is what I'll say, if they manage to do that, I 100% will be trying it, because it fucking kills me to have $800+ HDZero, an $800+ HDZero goggle setup that I don't use for HDZero. So yeah, I hope they figure out how to do it. That would be amazing. I hope you guys don't think like I hate HDZero or anything like that. It's not that at all. I love HDZero. I love that it exists. It's just not for me. There's no scenario where HDZero on the whole, every single time that anyone says on the whole, all I can ever think of is, yes, Preparation H is good on the whole, from Gold Member. Yeah, for me and the rigs that I have, HDZero is not the best video system. And so that's why I don't run it on anything. It's just that in all scenarios, either analog or Walksnail or old school DJI are better. And I don't like that. I don't want that to be the case, but I'm not a racer. And racing is really where HDZero is awesome. Other than with Tiny Whoops. It's still analog with Tiny Whoops. So, yeah. If you guys think I like hate HDZero, I'm down on HDZero, it's not that at all. It's just that it is not the right solution for any of my personal scenarios. And that's okay. We're super lucky to have it. And if they manage to put that shit on a Tiny Whoop AIO that is not that much heavier than the analog AIOs, I will 100% run it and probably love it, and possibly switch all of the RC drift chasing rig. No, I won't, because I will still have at least one or two of the analog rigs, because the analog rigs at 640, 480 look awesome when I combine them with the old school camcorder footage, and then put delicious 80s, 90s techno music over top. So, but I will for sure have like at least one build with that yeah, is sort of, it'll be better to fly than the Walksnail rig, because it'll be lighter weight with less latency, and then it'll have slightly better video quality than, this isn't an analog rig, but pretend I'm now holding up an analog RC drift car chasing rig. It'll have better image quality than this. So yeah, there you go. Striker says, $60 for the M65. Do I go straight for 31mm, or do I get motors 27,000 kV 0802 on the 35mm props? Don't do anything with 35mm props. They suck. There's absolutely no reason, in my opinion, and in my testing, of which I've done a whole bunch, to go with the Meteor 65 Pro setup with the 35mm props. Yeah, no reason to do that. They don't do anything better. The main problem with the 35mm stuff is the props are nowhere near as good as the 31mm props. The 1210 biblades, the 1219S tri-blades, and the HQ YOLO tri-blades are just brilliant propellers. And yeah, there's nothing in the 35mm size that comes even close. Notice says you're going to be flying some 5-inch soon. LOL. Maybe. I do. I will see. We'll see. Look, man, it's flying outside, flying 5-inch rigs outside. You get much less, you spend much more time and do much less flying than 3-inch, and especially than Tiny Whoop. And that's tough. It's tough to find spots to safely fly it. It's tough to find spots that are interesting to safely fly it. And then you've got to drive all the way out to the spot. Every crash, you bend up propellers. You got to bend them back or change them. You break a bunch of shit. Like, it is so much more time consuming to fly 5-inch rigs, and you get so much less actual flight time than with 3-inch and even next level Tiny Whoops. And yeah, that's tough. That's really hard to ignore. And like, I love flying 5-inch rigs. Believe me, they fly great and they shrink the world in a way that nothing else does. But it is not that much more fun to fly them than I would rather get more flight time, right? Like those two things compete against each other, and so it's really hard to justify going out and spending a bunch more time and a bunch more money to fly something that is not that much better. Hopefully that makes sense. Morton Upshot says, this would be a great collaboration effort, official blind test. And here's the other thing. The reason why we're saying this is that I would love to do a blind test to prove that I can feel a difference between 2306s and 2207s on my rigs. I would love to do that. In order to do that, I've got to go out and fly a couple of 100 5-inch batteries, bare minimum, to knock the rust off. And even if I were to do that, that testing doesn't really apply to most people. And so what the hell's the point? Why am I going to go spend probably 100+ hours, realistically, to do this test that only applies to the top 10%, 5% of pilots, maybe? Like, what's the point in that? I've already tested a ton of 2207s. I'm telling you, I will be able to tell the difference of a 2207, 2306 on my rigs. There you go. Like, doing it as a blind test, I get it. I totally get, and I want to do that, but I don't have the time. And I'm not gonna, it just, see what I'm saying? I would love to do it. I really would. I wish that back when I was flying tons of 5-inch, I'd done that test. But I think it's now kind of too late, because I would have to spend all this time getting used to flying these. I'm so used to flying tiny whoops now that, I'm super rusty on 5-inch rigs. This year's Rampage was the first time since last year's Rampage that I'd flown a 5-inch rig. That's silly. I mean, technically a week before that I flew at Patrick's house, but a full year went by that I didn't fly 5-inch at all. The gigs that I get, I fly Cinewhoops. On these live streams, I fly tiny whoops. And when you don't fly something for a long time, you lose the ability to really know that rig super, super, super well. Or is now the perfect time for me to test 2306 versus 2207, because I am out of practice, and by being out of practice, I'm worse, and by being worse, I'm more like the majority of FPV pilots, right? So maybe now is the perfect time to test 2306 versus 2207. It's not a hard test to do. I think I have a set of 2207s that are the same KV as the 2306s that I've got. That's interesting. That's super interesting. But I also don't think that it matters. I don't think that it matters whether or not you can tell the difference. Run 2306s if you want a slightly lighter weight motor that makes slightly less power. Run 2207s if you want a motor that makes more power. That's it. The end. No real reason to give a fuck if anybody can tell a difference. Each motor, the 2207s are bigger than 2306s. Done. T-motor, one of the things I love, the only thing that I love about T-motor naming, long time ago, naming the F40s F40 instead of 2306 and the F60s F60 instead of 2207, is that what they were doing was kind of brilliant. They were saying F40 is smaller because 40 is a smaller number than 60, and that's what matters. If you want a smaller motor that makes less power but it's lighter, get the F40. If you want a bigger motor that makes more power, get an F60. Doesn't matter if you can tell a difference. The smaller motor is lighter and makes less power. The bigger motor is heavier and makes more power. That's it. That's like, whether you can tell a difference or not doesn't matter. The difference is there. It's there. And if you come down the bottom of a dive and you hammer the throttle with the exact same timing, the motor with more power will keep you from hitting the... If you were going to hit the curb on a 2306, you might not hit the curb with the 2207. Or with the 2306, you will perfectly miss the curb. With the 2207, you will bounce up in the air and then settle back down, and you will look like a worse pilot. So, there you go. Man, we are all in on the deep dives tonight here, which is I appreciate that. This is the shit that I like talking about. I will forever answer what's better, ELRS or FR Sky questions, but this is the shit that, you know, really gives me a nice firm stiffy. I was about to say that, and I was like, don't say that, don't say that, don't say that, don't say that. And then I said it. Because, you know, fuck it. Notice says, you're going to have to blind test 2306 versus 2207 difference, like you did with Joshua. The testing that Joshua and I did, it was really important. But, we did not realize it was really important because it recalibrated. Yeah, it was super important because it really showed that it doesn't matter in most cases. But at the same time, yeah. It was super interesting. I'm super glad that we did it. But yeah, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. If you want a lighter motor with less power, 2306. Most people, although it really does depend on the all-up weight of the rig, but most people will do better with a less powerful motor. That's lighter on the ends of the arms, because less power will give you better throttle resolution, and it will allow you to fly closer to objects. And flying closer to objects looks cooler. You want your FPV flight footage to look good? Fly close to shit. People, that is what wows people. You hurtling up into the clouds over and over and over again. Like the first time, somebody might be like, oh, cool. The second time you do it, they're going to be like, oh, cool. The third time you do it, they're going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop doing that. Whereas slamming down on the ground and being like a couple inches off the ground, all the way across the parking lot, and then throwing it off and then doing that across the grass every time, that's like, oh shit, like half your frame is filled up with the ground whizzing by you. Like, that's cool every time. So like for most people, a less powerful motor is going to be better. Most FPV motors make way too much power. But that's fun for us as pilots, right? So what do you want? You want to have fun, or you want your flight footage to look good? That's important. Like for most people, excuse me, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but nobody wants to watch your flight footage. Mine too. You know, I have dozens of edits up on YouTube that I've spent 10, 15, 20, 30 hours on that like 500 people have watched. Like, what did I do that for? You know what I mean? Like it's so, yeah, I don't know. But for me, I like it when my flight footage looks a little bit better. So that's fun for me. It's actually less fun for me to have an overpowered setup that just hammers all over the place. It's more fun for me to have better control and fly closer to stuff. So yeah, there's that. Cloudhopper says the 33,000 kV is 4.9% higher RPM than the 30,000 kV. Man, I had a feeling I was doing that math wrong. It's not 0.5%. It's 4.9%. Thank you for doing the math on that. 5% is approaching like significant. Yeah, that's interesting. That's super interesting. It's still not much though. That's still not much of a difference. But what I did not see when I was doing that testing is a significant difference in runtime. Again, right, when we fly a battery, we only spend a sum total of maybe like 2 or 3 seconds at full throttle, right? We blip full throttle and then we're off of it. So we're only full throttle for like a split second at a time, and then 5 or 6 seconds go by and then we're at another split second. So like the loss of efficiency at full throttle going to a higher kV motor is not all that significant through the course of any individual battery. So on one hand, it's like, fuck it, go to the moon and put 40,000 kV motors on everything, until the ESCs start exploding, right? Which they have not yet, and I don't think they will anytime soon. So yeah, super interesting stuff. Thank God there are people that are better at math than me. Striker says, I can tell FS for sale. Tested Velox V3 2306s, Velox V3 2207s on a buddy's quad on the same KV, same frames. So dry weight was the same, about 16 grams difference. Not a blind test, but I definitely did feel it. Yeah, that's what most people say. There's a significant difference between 2306s and 2207s. But there's also so much placebo and so much confirmation bias that, again, what Blunty is saying is absolutely valid. And I'm adding to that with it doesn't matter. So yeah, I don't know. We're both right. Dave S says, I'm learning on a Meteor 65 Pro. Would putting the smaller props on 31 millimeters help with taming the flying characteristics or make it fly like crap? It kind of depends on the KV of the motors, Dave. If the motors are high enough KV, the 31 millimeter props will give you better response time, and the propellers are just kind of better. If you're going to do that, you might as well snag the smaller, lighter weight frame and convert the entire build. This is what you should do. What you should do is convert the entire build to the smaller frame. There's kind of no reason to not do that. So yeah, do that. The 65 Pro frame is needlessly bigger and heavier. And if you're going to do an order and order some of the props, you might as well do the order from Newbie Drone and snag yourself a LiteAF frame, and also get the Cockroach 65 V3 frame. It'll cost you $10 whole total for one of each. Make sure that the LiteAF frame you get is the white one. This is the strong one. The black one is super fragile. And convert the whole damn build over. You'll save a bunch of weight. You'll go to the better performing props, and away you go. But the actual answer to the question is, as long as your motors are high enough KV, yes, going to the lighter weight 31 millimeter props will help. If you're just going to do that, go to the Gemfan 1219S tri-blades. They are awesome. Oh, my dad's in chat. What's up, Dad? He didn't tag me, but he corrected my math. Thank God. Did I make you proud, Dad, with my horrible mathing skills? Shit. Curtis Hayes says, CMYK, that should be a sticker or a t-shirt, something with CiottiFPV's fingers throwing gangly gang signs. Yeah, I get gangly gang signs. Is there like a G? Is there a somebody figure out GG. They should face themselves. How do you make a G? Okay, that's it. That's how you do it. That's our gang sign, yo. They gotta face themselves. There it is. That's our gang sign. I'm not big on gang signs, so. Striker says, I was talking about some guys once, tall stators, wide stators. I was arguing that neither was good, and somewhere in the middle is what you want. I don't know about that. I mean, they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Taller stators make more power for the amount of weight that the motor is. But then if they're too tall, they can get too hot. But if they're properly sized, yeah. Tall stator, wide stator, those are not descriptive enough terms. How wide is wide? Right? Are we talking about a stator that's this wide and this tall? Or this wide and this tall? Right? So it's there is no better or worse. there's wider stators stay cooler and are more consistent. Taller stators have better response time because the magnets are pulled in more, and the vertical makes more power than extra width. So they both do things differently. There's no better or worse at all. It depends specifically upon the scenario that they're being used and the pilot, like what the pilot wants, right? And how the pilot flies. Some pilots never go full throttle, so they can run a really tall stator motor and it'll never overheat. So there's just a million variables. This is why I try to drill into all your guys' heads. Like, there is no better. There's just different. So, yeah. Striker says, proves I was right. And they said, well, why do you even put so much effort? You can't even tell the difference. Yeah, I mean, because the difference is there. And every once in a while, it will make a difference from you face planting into a curb or not, or bouncing up elevation and slamming down nice and flat. Although you fly a bunch of batteries on something, you get used to it, and that goes out the window too. So you can make the argument on either side. You can absolutely make the argument that it doesn't matter. You can also make it that it does matter. It's yeah, too many variables. Kelvin says, I forgot about all the quad size possibilities you get with Walksnail over the 03. You've opened my eyes. Will keep my goggles X. Build upon it. Definitely join your Patreon. Thank you, brother. Very cool of you. Yeah, it's not many people talk about the full picture of these video systems. Joshua does, which is why one of the many reasons that his reviews are so goddamn good. And it's also why his reviews are 40 minutes long, because he realizes the importance of actually diving in and giving you the full picture, not just, which is most reviews, holy shit, the 03 system is so good. Look how good 4K is. Wow, everybody buy this. For Christ's sakes, it's so goddamn good. Like, well, okay, sure, that one single thing is amazing, but like, there's more than that, yo. Come on. Trigger says, they basically just admitted they were wrong, turned on my ass and said, stop nullifying it. It doesn't matter. Sounds like most of America with most things. Jason Black says, can you go over a 2S 45mm build analog? What's 45 millimeters? 1.7. Oh, right. I did not have any luck with 45 millimeter stuff. All of the propellers are out of balance. The biblades and even these tri-blades are the best balanced propellers for 45, and neither of them are in balance enough. Also, the 75 Pro frame is obnoxiously heavy. So yeah, I don't have a good 45 millimeter setup because the frame and the props suck. So I don't think you should build it. The frame is also bigger, so the ducts are farther out, so you have more duct in view, which is kind of silly. But if you were to do, see, the 2S thing fucks it all up. My guess would be the Beta FPV 1102 motors in 19,000-ish kV. You're then going to motor limit them down to like 80% or 70%. Pick whichever one, feels best for you. Have to run that frame. You have to run those propellers. Buy both the biblades and the tri-blades. And then whatever battery fits in there. I don't know what... Oh, you can't even do that. There's no batteries that fit in that frame. Maybe you can modify that frame to fit a battery. I don't know. But that frame is for 1S batteries. So you'd have to do some heavy modifications to the frame. Don't do it. Don't do it. Build 75mm motor to motor with a 1.6-inch prop. That's the way to go. Zoe101 Dog the Blog says, hey, ever think you'll do another lightweight build with the VCI motors? What are we talking about? Tiny whoops? We talking about 3-inch rigs, 5-inch rigs? I'm going to assume tiny whoops. This is a pretty lightweight build, and there really are no other VCI motors that make any sense. This is the 0702 29,000 kV, and they don't make quite enough power. And all their other motors are less powerful than these. So until they make a higher kV 0702, I will not do another build because it just doesn't make any sense. You know, we can just motor limit this down to emulate the performance of the lower kV motors, but here's what that would be. They make even less power. This is even worse. So that would be that review. I do have the VCI 0803 27,000s, I think they are, on the 1S Walksnail build back there. Same kind of deal. I wouldn't want to go any lower in kV because they still don't make quite enough power. The main problem with them, though, is runtime. So maybe if VCI makes like a 1002, I would love to try that. If they make another size, yeah, sure. I will absolutely test them. But at the moment, I've got the two best motors that they offer, so I'm not really interested in any of their other motors because they'll be worse than what I've already got. So, Just Mo says, saw your comments on Bardo's stream, had to tune out because Blunty's tantrum. I just spit all over the place. Did you guys see it? Good to be here, though. Yeah, right? He freaked out on me as if, like, I feel like I might have said something to piss him off, which I feel really bad about. But I don't remember, and I don't know why I would have, because I've never been mad at him. So, yeah. But, you know, we've all accidentally said something and pissed somebody off and had no idea about it. So I know that's not out of the realm of possibilities. But I've always loved the guy, so I know that I've never, like, come on here and been like, Blunty's a piece of shit, I hate that guy. Because it's just never been true. So yeah, if I said something that pissed him off in the past, I 100% did not do it on purpose. So yeah. Notice with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. He says, Sirius, the dog star, and Earth are moving 9 feet closer to each other every day. Eventually this will be a serious problem. Oh, the dad jokes. I will never get sick of them. Thank you for the support. Notice. Very cool of you. Kelvin Santos says 267 miles an hour. Yeah, that's insane. I'm probably gonna watch that tonight. Curtis Hayes says almost 500K per hour, which is close to 300. And yes, they only use HD VTX. Okay, yeah, so they're not putting a full-blown HD camera in there. That's bananas. 267 miles an hour is absolutely absurd. I'm looking forward to watching that. I watch all of Chris's stuff. I'm really surprised. You know what happened? I scrolled past that thumbnail too many times. I've been getting caught up over the past couple of days on YouTube. I scrolled past that thumbnail too many times, and YouTube is no longer putting it in recommended. So I'm going to have to hunt for that. I might have also accidentally let the thumbnail play. I hate that YouTube does this, for the record. I hate that when you let the preview on a thumbnail play, it dumps that into your history and it stops suggesting that. That's dumb. That is dumb, for the record. Quad City Bay Area with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. I'm a newbie, did my first kill rig. What's that? Gutted my Pavo 25 for parts, so emotional, lol. What is... You like you killed your first rig. Okay. I think that's what you're saying, Quad City Bay Area. Yeah, it's always a little sad to pull a rig apart for parts, but gotta do it sometimes. Thank you for the support, homie. Curtis Hayes says, make sure you act... Oh yeah, from Notice turned out isn't there anymore. Yeah, they disappear from the top, but they're always in the chat. County FPV says, chop my balance connector on my 5-inch rig today. What are your thoughts on easiest or best fix? Just curious your thoughts. Throw the battery away. The batteries are not expensive enough to, in my opinion, to fuck around with, like, them shorting and shooting fire or screwing up the fix, and then it lets go again and it burns your entire rig to the ground. The consequences of... I've been there before. It sucks. I hate throwing batteries away because I've mangled the balance leads, but there is just not a great way of fixing that. If there's a certain amount of mangling that you can just use like a liquid electric tape or electric tape around each individual wire to kind of fix it, but like there's a certain level of them getting mangled where no, like if you have to start soldering to them and stuff like that, just get rid of it. Although you said, well, you said you chopped your balance connector. If you just broke the plastic balance connector, you can buy them, and then you just depin it. You depin it one at a time, and then you wrap electric tape around the open end, and then go to the next one and depin it, and then go to the next one and depin it, and then you put them all into the new plastic balance lead connector. So if you just smashed up the connector, don't throw it away. It's when you start to mangle the wires, or if you pull one of the wires off of the pouches inside, where it's like, nah, get rid of it. But yeah, if you just broke the plastic connector, either buy a replacement connector. You're gonna have to buy a pack of like 50, or just put that battery aside. Eventually you will over discharge a battery and ruin it, and then you discharge it all the way, and then you pull the connector off that, and then you've got your one extra connector for that one. So there you go. County FPV says 6S connection as well. Striker says gonna be going to 31mm props. 3 questions. Jesus. How durable is the LiteAF? Pretty durable. How do the knurled shafts do on the wheel lead motors? They're good. What motors should I go for? I can't give you a straight answer to that. Everybody's different. What props do I go for? Same kind of deal. I don't know. Everybody's different. But with props, it's an easier answer. Just buy all of them. Buy the 1210 bi-blades, the 1219S gem fans, and the HQ YOLO props. Props are cheap. So buy all 3 and make your own mind. What motors you go for, yeah, that's a totally personal. If I had to just close my eyes and point, I would say 0702 36,000s, because then you can motor limit them down for less power. But that's a super individual question. You're pretty new, so 36,000 kV is going to be just absurd. So you might not want to go that high off the rip, because you're going to have to motor limit those way the hell down. So maybe just do like the 32,000 kV weeb leads, or even the 30,000 tiny whoops. But yeah, that's super tough. Bob Bruce says, so glad you said about the hole, because that's also what goes to my head every single time as well. There's a generation of people that watched that movie when it was not corny as hell, and that's one of the scenes that, yeah. Cal Rouse says the HDZero Freestyle V2 is awesome on a 5-inch with a GoPro. That high frame rate and super low latency is awesome, as long as you don't need to use the DVR footage for anything. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's analog in that scenario. Way less expensive, lighter weight. But yeah, I have different priorities than other people. If you have the money, yeah, and you don't care about the extra weight, HDZero is a great option on a 5-inch rig with a GoPro. It's just, yeah, not for me. We all have different priorities, and that's okay. Andrew Taylor says, 80s, 90s techno, are you a Wipeout fan? I am for sure. Striker says, looks like I guessed your answer, LOL. Striker also says, also I'm thinking on frames, CRV3, LiteAF, M65 original. What are the pros and cons? That's another massive conversation. Yeah, get the LiteAF and get the Cockroach V3. They're cheap, and you can figure it out yourself, because we're all different. Notice says, same reason I've not been flying 5-inch much since I got my whoop stable, but you got to prove Blunty wrong, right? Come on. Yeah, no, I mean, I love Blunty, so I don't need to prove him wrong. Yeah. Quad City Bear with a $5 super chat. Thank you, homie. He says, more options for your action rec. Your opinion on 720, 1080, 2K, 4K. More options for your action rec. Your opinion on 720, 1080, 2K, 4K. I'm not totally understanding the question. opinion on 720, 1080, 2K, 4K is that higher resolution is usually better, and unless it's one of these sensors that like sacrifices image quality just to have the higher number. There's lots of cameras that have a crazy amount of megapixels, but then the sensor is like super noisy, and like, yeah, sure, there's a shitload of extra pixels, but those pixels look like shit. So that's a thing that used to happen a lot in the digital camera world. So yeah, I don't understand the first part of that though. More options for your action rec. I can't make hide nor hair of that. So yeah, Quad City Barry, tag me. Thank you for the super chat. Tag me and give me a little bit more to go off of there. Notice says, fair enough, sorry to push the issue. No worries, brother. You can always push the issue. Well, not always. Depends on what the issue is. W2F is a kilometer says, what KV is the speed of sound on the 2S Tiny Whoop BT 3.0? It's going to be... I don't know, but I closed those tabs. Yeah, that's a really good question. You fucker, now I want to know. Hold on. All right. God damn it, why do you guys have to ask good questions all the time? KV rating, I have it motor limited down. Let's do... The motors that I'm going to get are going to be 19,000 kV. This is going to be a little bit high, but let's just do this anyway. 4.2 volts, 2S, we're going to go 8.4 volts. So we're talking about 159. That's a lot of RPM. No, that's too much. I'm never going to run these motors at 19,000 kV. That's going to be way too much. I'm going to motor limit them down to 17,000 at the absolute maximum. So that's what we're going to use here. 17,000. I got to reset this. 17,000. I will probably motor limit them down farther than this, but just for the sake of this, 17,000, 8.4, 4.2 doubled. Taken into yes, we charge the battery up to 4.35, but it sags as soon as you touch the throttle. 142,800 RPM. So we're going to change this to 1.6 inch diameter. 142,800 was it? Yep, 142,800. Go. Whoa, that is up there. That is up there. 0.88. 680 miles an hour tip speed. You never want to go up to this. You never want to go up to this. It talks about it right here. Just under Mach 0.92 plus, the propeller will vibrate, make excessive noise, and have poor efficiency. So you never... That's why it says here, maximum performance is between 0.8 and 0.92. This is at 0.88. So this is really starting to creep up towards that 0.92. So, yeah, super interesting. Great question. Thank you for forcing me to do that math. So, I mean, that's, you know, we're where we should be. We're in the ballpark. It's really funny how there's a ton of value in doing the math, doing thrust stand testing, right? There's a ton of benefit to data, but it always blows me away how close we get to the right data with just flying these things. It's pretty cool. That is a conquest for humans. Maybe AI won't kill us after all. It's coming for us. Is that out loud? Allfax is with a 149 Canadian Californian super chat. No comment. Thank you, brother, for the support. Stricker says 1507 versus 1606 versus 2004. Yeah, drastically different motors. There are people that each one of those motors will be perfect for. Stricker says, in that case, 1606 is 100% better than both. Not true. Not true. Too many variables. You cannot say that. Cannot say that. Allfaxis says it's just his attitude. He's just blunt and weird. Nasty FPV says, don't trip, man. You never know how someone's day is going, you know. Very true. I really hope that I didn't say anything to piss him off because, yeah, I love the guy. So, yeah. Kevin Sumner says, you can turn off thumbnail preview playing. I hate it and turn it off on all my devices. Fuck off. Really? Well, no, I do like the thumbnails playing, though. How do you turn it off? I like when the thumbnails play. I just wish they wouldn't go into your history. Striker says, is the LiteAF in Jade White bad? Nope, that's the good one. That's the one you want. Kevin Sumner says, C. Gonzalo Camacho. He just typed Ciotti. Thank you for that, brother. Gonzalo says, what would be the difference in flight feel and time between 1404 3800 kV versus 1404 4600 kV? It's for a 2.5-inch turner crane, cylinder and/or job, blah, blah, blah. The higher kV is going to make more power. Here's the long and short of it, Gonzalo. The higher kV motor, if you don't want to use that extra RPM, you can motor limit it down in beta flight. And then God forbid someday you want that extra RPM, you've got it available to you. The 3800 kV, you're done. You can never go up higher. And so maybe at 100%, the 3800 kV is perfect. But if ever there's a lower pitch prop that you need, or you just need extra power, there's nothing you can do about it. It makes no sense to get that 3800 kV motor unless you're on like 6S, maybe, because then 6S 4600 kV might be so high of a kV that you have to motor limit down to like 60% or 50%, and that's too far on the motor limiting. But if you're on 4S, there's absolutely no reason to get that 3800 kV motor. Get the 4600 kV. If it's too much, motor limit it down, and you're golden. As long as you motor limit 90%, 80%, 70%, there's not a significant enough change in throttle resolution or efficiency that it really matters. And it's really nice to be able to turn the power up every once in a while. So yeah, get the 4600 kVs, especially for a 2.5-inch rig. To be honest, 4600 kV is actually not even quite enough for a 2.5-inch rig. I wish we had some 5,000, even 5,500 kV 1404s for the 2.5-inch rigs, but the motor manufacturers don't listen to the actual pilots. They just, I don't know. Great question, dude. I'm gonna lose my voice. What the hell? I am. Quad City Barrier with another $5 super chat. Thank you, homie. Question is, onboard VTX, satisfactory for you? 720, 1080, 2K plus. 1080 can look really good sometimes. So it does kind of go back to what I was talking about. Yeah, it's Walksnail 1080 looks pretty goddamn good. Would I like it to look a little bit better? Sure. But it doesn't, and that's okay. It's got a million other benefits to it, right? So yeah, it's hell. 720 sometimes looks really good, but the problem with 720 is you really can't crop on it. With 1080, you can barely crop in on it. So yeah, that's tough. I mean, 1080 is pretty goddamn good though. So it depends. It's just onboard for just freestyle stuff, for just screwing around. 1080 is totally fine. For giving stuff to clients, 4K is absolute bare minimum. So there's this like kind of divide there. Onboard VTX, you're probably not going to turn that over to clients, although the O3 changes that if you can keep the props out of view. So it's super muddy. But yeah, sometimes 1080 looks fantastic. It's just you can only crop in a little bit, and that sometimes that sucks. So on web, YouTube settings, playback performance, video previews, slider at the bottom. I'm gonna do it real quick, and I'm gonna see if it drives me insane or not. No, I'm not, because I really like the really like the previews, because a lot of times the first 30 seconds of the video in the preview is all I need to watch, and I don't want to click through and let it load and go through all that. So I'm actually going to leave it on. But thank you for that, Kevin. SlowCal says there's 2 white AF frames now. Ah, very cool. Either one of them. They'll either, well, they should be. Look, this opaque white, which has been really durable for me, should be more fragile than a more clear one. Plastic is clear, and then to change its color, you have to add not plastic to it. So the clear version of the LiteAF should be even better than this white one. I haven't personally tested, so I can't guarantee that, but yeah, there you go. Fuck it, get them both. They're cheap. There we go, we're caught up. Okay, updating Walksnail. I have to take a shit, bro. I'm gonna have to hold it. Did I just get a super chat for having to take a shit? Quad City Bear with a $2 super chat. He says, I feel FPV is trying to get rid of action cams. I would say that the miniaturization is what's getting rid of FPV, getting rid of action cams. And that's a good thing. It sucks to have a big, fat, heavy camera sitting up on top. If we can have onboard 4K that we fly through, it saves us weight. It's more durable. A lot of benefits there. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing. Okay. Here we go. We might as well go to the newest. Okay. I haven't done this in a bit. Goggles V1. I think that's what I have, right? VTX, VRX. I definitely don't have that. I definitely don't have that. So I need this. And then I have VTXs. So I also need this. And I think I remember how to do this. Let's go in here. Hopefully I don't have to do any of the weirdness with the names of these files. Ground and sky. Ground as in GND for ground, as in the goggles, because they stay on the ground. Sky as in for the VTX, because that goes up in the sky. And I believe I take these .img files and just drop them on there, right? Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's get out the gangly fan so that the tiny... I was going to do this on all the tiny whoops, but we're running low on time, so I'm just going to do the one. And then I'll do the rest off stream because I don't want to have version mismatches. I hope you guys appreciate me doing this because I'm going to now have to update 6 or 7 of these things. But I am very curious about the 100 frames per second. Okay, so I need the memory card out of here. And let's eject this other memory card. All right, so we'll do the goggles first. So here's how you update Walksnail. They've made it very simple. As long as you don't have like older versions of the firmware where you have to do all this fucking weird shit with the names of the files. All right, so that's the memory card from the Bing Bong, from the goggles. And I probably still have an old... Now it looks like I got rid of it. Okay, so from what I remember, I am... so this is goggles, so this is ground. I just grab this .img file and drop it onto the main bing bong of the memory card. And that's it. And then I eject this. And then I put this guy into the goggles. But then I think I have to hold the button. Do I have to hit the bind button or something? Let's just see. Let's just turn them on. And we'll see what happens. I have to get the HD60S Plus all wired up and shit for you guys to see me flying. So let me do that while I'm waiting. This is going to now make the live stream start to stutter, and I'm going to rely on you bastards to, because I will inevitably forget about this. So on the end of this stream or the next live stream, for the love of God, somebody remind me that the live stream is stuttering because the HD60S is still plugged in because I forgot to unplug it. What are these goggles doing? Somebody in chat, if I have to hit the bind button or something on these goggles, please tell me. I haven't done this in a while, and I know one of you has done this recently. I just don't remember. And I'm trying to do this fast because I have to take a dump. For the love of my colon, somebody tell me what to do. Come on! Get under there! That's not what it sounds like when I poop, for the record. Before you make that joke, you dirty bastards. There we go. HDMI is plugged in. They don't appear to have been updating. I think there's a... I think it gives you a little menu that you're supposed to hit start on. Hold down the bind button. Yes, I thought that's what it was. Thank you, whoever that just was. Holding down the bind button. I think it beeps, right? There it is. There's the beep. And so now they restart. I can pipe these into the stream so that you guys can see it. And I think it brings up a little menu. All right, there we go there. Here we go here. And there's some beeping. I think that's it updating. Whole bunch of beeps. Just got to be patient. Take some time. Let's clean the lenses while we're waiting. Because they get filthy even with the Newbie Drone foam. Man, is the Newbie Drone foam nice on these though. Without it, these lenses get impossibly smudged all the time. If you have these goggles, for God's sakes, get the Newbie Drone foam. It's beeping for a long time. Kevin Sumner says, nothing on HDMI and beeps constantly, worst part of the upgrade process. I can start to, I can update everything at once actually. So we're gonna update just the freestyle one. So, all right, I need the cable. Okay. All right, this is the right cable here. And then, so I plug it in, I put the file on there, and then I think I hold the button on it for a while. So let's get it plugged in. Jesus, that takes forever. I forgot about that. All right, plugging in the VRX. I'm gonna need a battery. Oh shit, I only have two 300 mAh batteries charged. That's not going well. Well, that's probably fine. It's already past 12. Yeah, no, we'll just fly these two batteries. This battery's going to get hammered during the update process, but we'll just fly these two batteries real quick. We'll fly it more on Whoop Wednesday. Quad is now plugged in, waiting for it to come up on the desktop here. There it is. So you just open this guy up on the desktop, and you take this avatar sky.image file, drag it onto there, let it copy, and that's it. Then you eject this, and now you pull power from the little guy, pull the USB out of it, and Jesus! All right. Leave these on the edge here. That's fine. I'm just gonna put battery power. Do you have to hold the? Oh, I shaved the button down really. Almost all the way. Hold on. I need something to poke this with. That's what she said. Okay. Yeah. There it is. I don't remember if you hold the button while you power it up. What's the binding procedure? The binding procedure is to power it on and then tap the button. I think I might need to be holding this button when I power this thing on. So I'm holding the button, and now I'm plugging in the battery, and now I'm waiting for the lights. I don't remember what the light's supposed to do. All right, it's green. Green. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to go red. I've let go of the button and the light turned off. Goggles are done. Ah, red. That's a good sign. Red. Now I think it just solid red. It'll go green once it's done updating. I remember that. So now it's solid red. Red just went off. Goggles I think are done. See if the goggles boot the rest of the way up. The VTX has no light on it. Could be good or bad. Goggles are still on the avatar screen went out. VTX is now flashing green. Green. Goggles. Whoa! Look at that fancy shit. VTX just went solid green. I think it's done. I think the VTX is done. Here we go. We've got video from the goggles. VTX flashed a couple times. Now it's solid green again. And we've got no error message about mismatched firmware versions, so we are good to go. These are both updated. Look at that. Standby mode, low RF power. That's pretty cool. Let's get into the menu here. And let's look for... I have this on 50 megabit. What's happening here? Why is there not... Oh, right. Yeah, no. That was share. Okay, so where's the frame rate? Here we go. Okay, so on high bit rate, we have no other options. We have 2 bitrate options, standard and high. Let's go to standard. Let's check the frame rate again. Just the one option. Let's change the resolution. I think I'm supposed to have a 3rd resolution option here. But let's hit 720. There's a chance that the light system doesn't do the 100 frames per second. Okay, so now we're at 720. We can go to high frame rate, but I think that just goes to 60 frames a second. I don't think I have the 100 frames. Standby mode, goggle icon, low battery off, transmit power, bitrate, language. Let's check some of the other settings here. Nope, it wouldn't be there. Display. Nope, wouldn't be there. Why the hell is camera now grayed out? What's happening here? Oh, it's recording. Stop recording, homie. Okay, it was grayed out because it was recording. I hit the record button. That's why it was recording. Alright, camera settings. Scene, day, sharpness, ratio, auto white balance, saturation, rotate. No. Oh, why are these all grayed out again? It might have overheated. Oh, it's overheating. Yeah, it's at 1,000,000 degrees. But hey, it does not look like... because I think when you go to 100 frames a second, it goes down to a lower frame rate. Let's take a look. Walksnail 100 FPS. Let's see what that finds. Or maybe you can only do it on the goggles X. Let's see what we can find here though. It's starting to look like you can only do it on the Goggles X. Son of a bitch. Well, whatever. I'll have the newest firmware on all my Walksnail stuff eventually. And that's not all that difficult to do it. Goggles X, 1080p, 100 frames a second. Star Stripes Jacket says high is 100 frames per second. Yeah, but... Hold on. I'm pretty sure that 100 frames a second is not 720p. No! No! What did I just do? Oh, God. No. Hold on. Stop. I'm going to get copyright donged. I'm hoping that he shows the menu. Nope. Of course not. That would be far too helpful. Farts. Well, hold on. Let's look in the comment section of that video. Hold on. Pause. I'm surprised that nobody in chat knows the answer to this. Kevin Summers says, nah, it's 720p 100. Ah, okay. No shit. I mean, here's the problem. I need to be able to... Hang on. Cal Rao says 1080p 100 is only on the Goggles X. 720 100 is high on the VRX. I need to be able to switch it. All right. I know how to figure this out. Goggles, DVR. Okay, cool. All right. I know how to test this. So here's what we're going to do. Pull off this. Record. Okay, yeah. I'm going to power this up. Right now it's technically on 100 frames. I want to be able to test the difference in latency to see if I notice it. And I think I just kind of figured out how to do that. So I'm going to leave the quad and the goggles in the exact same spot. And I'm going to record a little bit of DVR. And we'll take a look at the latency on one versus the other. So boot the rest of the way up. There we go. All right. So 23 milliseconds in latency. This is on high mode. I'm going to hit record to get a little bit of DVR. So we're now recording. You can see up here. So we're getting a little bit of DVR, whatever. It doesn't matter what we get. 23, 24 milliseconds in latency. I'm going to keep it in the same spot on the desk. I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to pick the goggles up to my silly head. Oh, nope. I'm going to hit the wrong button. We're going to go down here to frame rate standard. Leave it on 720. Back out. Oh, nope. I hit the record button. Shit. Hit the record button again. Back out. Now look at the latency. 30 milliseconds, 32 milliseconds. So something's definitely happening. That's the cable. It's still recording. It's fine. I'm good. I can stop recording now. I've got both of those DVR files. And now I'm going to power this thing down before it catches on fire. Put it onto the gangly fan. We are going to pull the memory card out of here, and we're going to pull that footage into Premiere and take a look at the frame rate. But so far, that's a hell of a difference in latency. 22 versus 32? Is that, am I remembering that correctly? That's for real. Okay, so we've got one file here that's 83 megs. We got this 3.1 meg file that's just garbage. That was me accidentally hitting the record button. Okay, Premiere's not running. Hold on, let me get a project opened up here real quick. Doesn't matter what it is. RC Drift, sure. All right, let's take a look. So Strips Jacket said you should be able to tell the latency difference flying. It's night and day. I don't doubt it. But I want to do this first. I want to take a look at the EXIF data. All right, so we're gonna take. Wait. Oh, there you guys go. Okay, so we are gonna take the two files, pull them in here, and why is there no timeline? I actually want to create the timeline from this footage, so I'm just going to drop this in real quick. Okay, so that's fine. And now I'm going to take these two fellas, put them in here. We're going to highlight this one, and we're going to go to Info. And 60 frames a second, 1280 by 720. Not looking good. 60 frames a second, 1280 by 720. So, that's interesting. That means that it does not record. All right, that's all we need to know. No need to save the changes. Okay, so it doesn't record the DVR in 100 frames a second, but this tells us everything we need to know. High is 100 frames a second because it's lower latency. And then standard is 60 frames a second because that's what the DVR files are. The DVR does not record in 100 frames a second. That kind of sucks. I would really prefer it to record in 100 frames. That would be cool for a little bit of extra slow motion. But, is what it is. Cool. Okay, so yeah. High is 100 frames because we're seeing that lower latency. Low is not. Low is 60. And the DVR records in 60 only. That would be really cool if it recorded in 100. I gotta be honest. This thing is sitting all kinds of sideways. I think this one screw might be backing itself out. I'm not sure, but that's better. A little bit more. All right, let's fly it around a little bit. This is going to be the last thing we do here, my friends. Thank you for hanging. CiottiFPV.com is the spot that you can support me. It means a whole hell of a lot. You're going to love my Patreon. Definitely jump on there. Save you lots of money, I promise. You'll save way more money than you pay. This is not the right module. Let's switch that. And we'll do a little bit of flying. I'm only going to fly 2 batteries today, but you should do 6. Because if you do that every day, you will be ripping acro indoors before you know it. I promise. All right, so we are currently on 60 frames a second. Has this cable finally, like, full-blown shit the bed? Is that what's happening? I've got video in the goggles. Nope, there we go. Let me get this thing onto a channel. There we go. Get it off the public channel. Oops. Well, it's recording. Whatever. That's fine. Oh, there's no SD card in the goggles. Whatever. Fuck it. VTX overheating. Let's get it up in the air. Let me check to make sure the cable's still working. Can I see myself on the stream? I can indeed. This battery's done. Man, Walksnail eats these 300 mAh batteries. Jesus. Alright, well, this is the only battery that I have that's charged. Sorry Strip says you can also do high bitrate with high frame rate 720, not just 1080 on your goggles. Yeah, I'm on 720 now. Alright, hopefully we get a little bit of life out of this battery. So this is 31, 32 milliseconds of latency. This battery's shitting its pants. Oh, fuck you. Don't you dare you motherfucker, you. Well, that just totally fucked this all up. Because by the time I get that out of there, this battery's gonna be done. Oh my god, I cannot believe that just happened. I can totally believe that just happened. Oh, my knee just made a horrible sound. I have to take it back off. I have to have as little lag time between changing this as possible. Oh, fucking A. There's the end of that. That's the VTX browning out. Yikes. Well, I might be able to get like... Oh, no. That menu won't even come up. Shit! No, this is... Oh, there it is again. Sorry, guys. How the fuck are both of these batteries such pieces of dog shit that they can't even... What is happening now? Yeah, no, this battery just... Okay. Well, there's the end of that. Look, going from 32 to 22 seconds of milliseconds of latency, that is totally noticeable. So, yeah. On Wednesday, I will have batteries that aren't garbage charged, and we will actually fly this. God damn it, dude. But yeah, look, that difference in latency is significant. So this is a big deal, dude. Yeah, one of the only things that I haven't loved about Walksnail has been the extra latency. And if it's going to record the DVR in 720/60 while I get 100 frames in the goggles and less latency in the goggles, like, done. There's no this is totally worth it to get these guys updated. So yeah, if you've got Walksnail, update that shit. There is just not a look, if previously I thought that for some reason 100 frames I would have to go well, not for some reason, because when logically it makes sense that you would have to go down in quality to get more frames a second, right? Like there's an amount of bandwidth, and if you're cramming more pixels into that if you're cramming more frames into that bandwidth, you're going to have less pixels. So previously I thought, well, shit, there are some sacrifices, and I might never use the 100 frames because the DVR is going to then record in 540 instead of 720. That's not the case. The DVR is doing the same thing it always did, but then you're getting less latency in the goggles. So yeah, absolutely no reason not to update, other than maybe if there's some weird bug in the newer version of the Walksnail firmware, but I haven't heard. We'd probably hear about that. So yeah, update your Walksnail shit, friends. That's awesome. That's great. I'm going to unplug the HD60S Plus right now. Holy crap. I remembered. And now the stream will stop stuttering. So on Wednesday, we will fly this a little bit more, and I can tell you whether or not I can feel the difference. Not that it matters, because that is a big difference in latency. There's absolutely no reason not to update your Walksnail shit. So that is super cool. Here's how I can tell if these batteries are trash. They just went down low enough to brown that shit out, but watch this. I'm going to put them on a cell checker, and they're going to bounce all the way back up to 3.97. This battery is junk. Let's see this one. This one might not be junk. This one might just not have been fully charged. So I'm going to keep this battery. I'm going to throw this battery away because the internal resistance has gotten so high on it that even though it is at 4 volts, it sags all the way down to like 3.3 and browns the VTX out. This battery is junk. That is how you know if, since we can't find out what the internal resistance is on these batteries easily, yeah, that's how you know if one of your tiny whoop batteries is trash. If it sags super low on the quad, but then you plug it into a cell checker a minute later, and it has bounced all the way back up. Although, yeah, this is bouncing back up to 3.78. This one's pretty shitty, but fuck, I'm throwing this one away too. No, I'm not dealing with this. They were both junk. I'm pretty mean to these batteries, so. Chronic Nugget says, what do you think of, this is the last question, Star Stripes Jacket, thank you for all the tech. I've read them all. I'm just not going to read them out. I really have to shit. Sorry. Chronic Nugget with the last comment of the live stream. He says, what do you think of the alternative 2S board? Super X HD is lighter. Happy Mono board, including the 20 amp Crux 35 board, is less than a gram heavier. TuneRC board is less than a gram. I don't think TuneRC has here's what I think. For my uses, the 2S boards are on these tiny whoop frames, and the big ass 2S batteries get in the way of the USB ports. So for me, for a 2S board, it has to have the weird JST plug setup. Admittedly, though, I have not really dove into the 2S boards to research all of them. So at the moment, I'm not the best guy to talk about all the 2S boards because I just haven't gone super deep down that rabbit hole. But we will in the future. As I do more work on the 2S 75mm rig, we will certainly dive down the 2S AIO rabbit hole, and I will learn more. But yeah, at the moment, I gotta go. I'm gonna poop my actual pants if I don't go like right now, and I refuse to do that live. You guys are cool and all, but here you go. Here's me flying the 2S rig at the rental place for Azalea's middle school graduation present. Love you guys. Bye. This is the 2S 75mm rig. Love you. Bye. Bye. CiottiFPV.com. Support me. I love you. Bye.